Broadcasting across the state of Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and around the world on the Civic Media app. This is the Dom Salvia Show. And now, here's your host, Dom Salvia.
And welcome to the Dom Salvia Show. Happy Friday to us all, folks. We made it, and you can be a part of this fine production. 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. Got Just PS on the board. And James Santelle, host of Amicus, a law review, joining me, co-host for today. You can check out his fine program tomorrow on Saturdays, 9 to 11. Jim, welcome to the show, man.
Always delighted to be with you on a good Friday afternoon. The sun is shining. The sky is blue.
Oh, man, I know.
The orange and palm trees. Oh, no, that's too much, right? Right? Oh, close, right?
My car said 78 on the way down here today.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yes, yeah.
What else is amazing? Our break into spring. Text to win, a statewide contest. Today's keyword, splash. Splash for your chance to win $100 cash.
Hey.
A cool Hyundai. So download the Civic Media app. Find your favorite Civic Media radio station. Use the text button at the bottom of the screen to text the keyword splash. We're going to make a splash. It's so hot today. I want to go splash in the lake. Actually, that water's going to be really cold. I mean, so you know the role, folks. Break into spring. Download the app and use the text button to send in the word splash. This will go on until 5 o'clock p.m. Central Time today. So we'll remind you throughout the hour. James Santelle, former U.S. attorney. That means you're a law guy. You know something about the law, and I appreciate that. I like bringing smarter people than me on this program.
It's a lot. Once again, let's just begin with that every single broadcast. Right, my friend? It's a lot.
Well, when this administration is specifically going after the judiciary, we're going to have lots of legal discussions.
Absolutely.
And when this administration puts forth a blizzard of unconstitutional executive orders, throwing the stuff at the wall just to see what sticks, we're going to have to assume there's going to be talk about legal discussions and the role and the reach of the executive branch and the judicial branch and so on and so forth.
And we have to talk about the Constitution.
The what?
The Constitution.
We still have that?
We
still
should
got
introduce
that
into the Oval Office. Perhaps the president. I know he wants the Declaration of Independence there in his Oval Office. Maybe we should introduce the Constitution and ask him just to read it. It would take just, well, I don't know how quickly he reads, but would not take that long to do a read through of
we
the
can get him an
thing.
audio book, man.
There you go. There you go.
You know?
Exactly. Right.
And of course, the money in the politics, Jim.
Yes.
And we had Judge Susan Crawford on yesterday, of course, running for Wisconsin's Supreme Court race against BS. We know that guy. And Elon Musk wading into this. Guy's already spent, I guess, upwards about $20 million of his money, front group money, America this, and whatever that.
A race that I'm told, anyway, is far in excess of $80 million now on both sides. $80 million.
And we still got another, 4 days to go here.
Right,
so we got, this is a big spending weekend,
this is
man.
A big, right, exactly.
If you're going to try to watch the Brewers game this weekend, you might want to pause during the commercials because it's going to be filthy.
Stores, stock up on things.
Call some old friends for a few minutes. Just turn the commercials off.
Right.
Except on Civic Media. Play all the commercials here. And now Elon Musk is wading in even more. The news as it stands right now, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reporting, Molly Beck and Allison Durr. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul says he will take legal action against Elon Musk over his plans to award $1 million checks to 2 Wisconsin voters ahead of Tuesday's pivotal state Supreme Court election. Remember, vote Judge Susan Crawford. In a since-deleted post. Now, it's deleted. This is interesting. Why would he delete it?
Which is sometimes an acknowledgement that maybe that was a mistake, right?
He said, Musk, in the since-deleted post, said that he would hold an event Sunday in Wisconsin and hand out $1 million checks to voters, quote, in appreciation for you taking the time to vote. We appreciate your vote. Here's $1 million. But after election experts and Democrats raised questions about whether the offer violated the state's election bribery laws, Musk deleted the post and said he would instead be handing over the checks to 2 people who would serve as spokespeople for his petition in opposition to activist judges. The Post also no longer said attendance would be limited to those who have voted in the Supreme Court election, as the original Post stated. Musk wrote, "To clarify your previous post, I take it all back. Entrance is limited to those who have signed the petition in opposition to activist judges. I will also hand over checks for $1 million to 2 people to be spokesmen for the petition." The Wisconsin, here's what Josh Krall had to say. The Wisconsin Department of Justice is committed to ensuring that elections in Wisconsin are safe, secure, free, and fair. We are aware of the offer recently posted by Elon Musk to award $1 million to 2 people at an event in Wisconsin this weekend. Based on our understanding of applicable Wisconsin law, we intend to take legal action today to seek a court order to stop this from happening. James Santelle, that's, you know what I know. What are your thoughts at the first blush?
It certainly does sound like election bribery, right? And we've got a number of different things here. We've got state laws, there are plenty of federal laws. I always think about the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which plainly prevents, there should generally, it's not this general, but generally when it comes to elections, money shouldn't be changing hands. That's the basic concept behind all this. You don't want to pay people to vote. You don't want to have to assess people money to vote. None of that should happen. Under the state laws, again, the Attorney General invoking this notion that there should not be bribery when it comes to getting people to vote, incentives, all those kinds of things. And one of the challenges here is because of you, as you just said, Dom, we've got a moving proposal here, right? We've got first a statement that I'm going to hand out checks, then I'm going to go through a second party. I don't know that insulates you, aside from simply expanding
right.
the nature of the conspiracy, right? It adds more defendants to the criminal complaint. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're not involved in that anymore, right? That doesn't do that as a basic legal principle. But there's so many aspects of this. How is this going to happen? What exactly do you expect? What exactly do you expect from the people who are getting these $1 million checks? Are you, and of course implicitly, if not explicitly, the notion is that you have or you will vote for the non-Susan Crawford candidate, right?
Right.
And that, again, judges often say, I may have been born in the night, but I wasn't born last night, right? That's the common phrase these days. You need to look at all this and figure out exactly what is it, what are you doing, Elon Musk, whether it's directly through these other people. If there is money being exchanged in connection with voting, that raises a red flag.
Right.
Strict scrutiny, higher scrutiny for that generally. What is the expectation? Are you basically bribing people to get their vote? If that is the case, and that's the finding of a judge in an injunctive proceeding, which could happen tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, whenever this is going to go forward, then you've got a real problem here. If, on the other hand, you are simply saying, hey, I want to encourage people to come and enjoy my rally here, that may be a different thing. We know that that's not really going on here, and that's the challenge. That's the problem.
Apparently, a legal filing in Dane County Circuit Court today. Call accused Musk of attempting to buy votes through a high-profile social media campaign promising cash. I believe this has been filed, right? And I've also seen as our audience is texting into me today that it looks like Susan Crawford was initially assigned the case. It's already been reassigned to Andrew Voigt.
Right. Again, it is.
Come on, it's a whole new world. Take the case, Susan.
Right. Do we have any recusal rules? We do. And thankfully, once again, I'm sure that she was very quick to indicate that, listen, this is something I should write.
Right? Why would Musk have a problem with that? If we want a responsive judiciary, right? I mean, if Susan Crawford should take that case, demand Musk show up, I don't know, today. And then if he doesn't, she can put out an order for his arrest. Why not? What would, I guess in these situations, I would think to myself, what would Trump do?
Right. Or what would at least 2 members of the Supreme Court do? Their names are Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas when it comes to recusals. We know we've had some problems there, some cases over which they should not have been presiding. Why? Because you've got, in that instance, friends, allies on the other side, but plainly opponents on one side of the case. So again, it is a small bit of refreshing news inside this other very troubling, very, very troubling action by Elon Musk, that we again have a judicial officer whose name is Susan Crawford. She is a Wisconsin Circuit Court judge for Dane County who has said, no, I should not be presiding over this. I'm sure that the clerk of court there, again, as you indicated, promptly reassigned it, and that should happen. But the larger issue is still, when this gets to the judge, what happened here? What are you anticipating? And if you're indeed paying people for their votes, there should be an injunctive order, a temporary restraining order, frankly, a permanent restraining order preventing that kind of thing from happening, whether it's Sunday, Monday, heaven forbid, Tuesday.
As PJ points out on the YouTube, a restraining order was filed this afternoon around 3 p.m. I gave out the case number. You can find it on Wisconsin's CCAP, and I did pull it up. Thank you, PJ. Dane County case 2025CV001087, Josh Call et al. Versus Elon Musk. Responsible official, Andrew Voigt. Oh, damn. Come on, Susan Crawford. Should have pulled that one. A plaintiff, of course, Josh, called defendant. Elon Musk, another plaintiff, as it listed here, is America PAC. Interesting. All right, so there we go. Josh Call is on it, and I'm down, man. But what about, how does this pertain to the other $100 thing that he's doing, to sign the petition?
All right.
Give you $100 to sign the petition. I kind of, just kind of philosophically toyed with this idea. Do you take the money and sign and sign whatever you want for the $100? And I thought, well, nothing's worth the $100. Not to play with those cats, man. I don't like those guys. I want nothing to do with those guys.
Your name is still on a document in perpetuity.
This
right?
is what I'm saying, man. Oh, you took the Elon Musk money. That could be a bad thing someday.
Right.
And I think it is a bad thing. But is that illegal?
Probably not, right? I mean, this is the point. If I come to you and Jess and say, you know what, traffic is heavy out there on I-94 this afternoon. Let's have a petition to add an additional lane to I-94 so we can get back and forth more quickly. And I say, listen, just to sign off on this, I'm going to give you $50 because you too have an interest in this. Probably nothing illegal in putting together a private petition. When it gets inside government, obviously, then you've got an entirely different set of circumstances. The larger issue, even with the $100 on this, is presumably going to present this to some government office, maybe a court at some point, and say, look, all these people agreed with me on this, and the question's going to be, and how do we know who these people are? Well, the answer is I paid them all $100. It completely throws out the legitimacy of that petition, right?
If that is the point of the petition versus buying all of your information and tying you now forever and ever and ever to Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the mega circus that it is. Folks are listening to the Dom Salvia Show. James Santelle going to be sticking around with me all day today. Just PS working on the board. Going to take your calls coming up next. 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. It might surprise you that Ron Johnson and Wisconsin Republicans, they back a move to limit judicial power to block Trump. Of course they do. Come back with us. back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. It's our break into spring text to win statewide contest. Your chance today to win $100 cool cash. Download the Civic Media app. Find your favorite radio station. Use the text button at the bottom of the screen and send in the keyword. Here it is, folks. Splash. SPLASH. Make it a splash here in Wisconsin. Join us on the lines, 855-752-4842. We'll get to you callers momentarily. James Santelle, host of Amicus the Law Review, his show on Saturdays, 9 to 11 a.m. Stick with me until the 6 o'clock hour. Jess P.S. working hard on the board. Some of the texters out there jumping in. TJ from Oshkosh. Anyone who signed the petition not to vote for activist judges can't vote for BS now because he's an activist judge for Muskin Trope. Oh, I don't know if they get that, TJ, but I see what you're saying. Our pal Dana from La Crosse, I am predicting that Elon's little bribery tour is going to backfire on him. I hope it disgusts enough people and it will turn out the anti-Elon vote.
Hopefully.
And by the way, you can still go into the judge's court, whether that's tonight, tomorrow, and say, you know what, Your Honor, we've decided to shut down the entire operation. We've thought better of it, and we're just going to encourage generally people to vote. If you say that to the judge, he'll say, any objection to the dismissal of this action for a preliminary injunction? The answer should be no, and we'll be done with it. So again, Elon has the capacity, if indeed the caller here is right, to bring this all to a conclusion. Once I was almost about to say, Dom, calmer, more sane minds apply here, but that could happen if indeed somebody gets in his ear and says, we really can't be doing this.
But I get the impression that folks like Elon Musk and Donald Trump don't like being told no.
No, absolutely. And do not back down. That's a part of the
Back
playbook,
down.
right?
And I got money, so
Right.
I'm just going to spend it. And we're going to, this is the attitude, right?
Right.
I mean, to hell with what the actual rules are, the actual laws are, what the point of, not even what the laws are, what's the point of the law? What's the spirit?
Right.
What are we trying to accomplish
Right.
by doing these things, by not allowing, folks like Elon Musk to go bribe people to vote for Brad Schimmel so he can get his 4 dealerships in the state of Wisconsin.
Right, exactly.
Just saying.
And we see that approach not only in the litigation, but beyond it, right? It is you deny that you've done anything wrong. I think we'll talk about that Signal case, right?
Yep.
You deny that you've done anything wrong. If, in fact, there is some acknowledgement of something that happened, you minimize it dramatically. You say it has no impact whatsoever. You blame other people for it, which we're already seeing,
Coffee
right?
boys, yep.
Exactly. Somebody else did this. And, oh, by the way, the other side, whoever those people are wildly overreacting, and they're the problem, right? They're the problem. That 4-part approach to all this, probably afoot here once again.
Is there a 5th part, kill the messenger? I mean,
Right,
blame
right,
Jeffrey Goldberg,
exactly,
too?
sure,
And what was he
sure.
doing in that room?
How did he weasel his way into this room?
Right. It probably has 5 or 6 or 7 different parts if you look at all the subparts to it, all the footnotes along the way.
855-752-4842. Dale from Wausau, you are up. Welcome, Dale. Happy Friday, buddy. What do you got for us?
Yeah, thanks, Don. With all this money that's coming into the state for the Wisconsin Supreme Court race from Musk, and the mafia will entice you to do what they want by paying you a lot of money. If after they pay you that money, you don't do what they want, they will threaten your life and the life of your family. So it amounts to a 2-stage process. They will bribe you, entice you with money to begin with. The second stage is if you don't do what they want, they will entice you with extortion.
Yeah, it always starts out great, Dale, right? Hey, yeah, you got something, I'll take some of that money. We've seen the movies. We know how that works
A fellow
out.
named Mario Puzo wrote about this extensively, and Francis Ford Coppola gave us some movies that described exactly that.
Yeah.
That's basically the plot of all of those, absolutely. And what a shame. What a shame it is that America 2025, we are now commonly describing our president and the White House not only as a bully, but an extortionist. We're comparing him legitimately based upon the things that he is doing to mafia.
I have conversations, and the folks will ask me, help this make sense to me.
Right.
Make this make sense to me.
Right.
And my reaction is always, don't think about this as politics. Think about him as a gangster.
Right.
You look at it in a gangster perspective, it makes absolutely total sense. You look at the extortion. We're going to talk about some of these law firms
Yes.
that were targets of these executive orders. Some of them are fighting back. Some of them are
Right.
they're
Acquiescing,
They're
right?
acquiescing. $40 million here, $100 million. Another one. We'll get to that as well. 855-752-4842, 855-75 In that regard, let's talk about the judiciary. Ron Johnson and Wisconsin Republicans, they're down. They think they got to limit this judicial power that it's blocking Trump. Ron Johnson told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that the judiciary, quote, is overstepping its constitutional bounds, unquote, by declaring Trump actions unconstitutional. Let's just stop there for a moment, if we may. Counselor, Senator Johnson says the judiciary is overstepping its constitutional bounds by declaring Trump actions unconstitutional. If Trump's actions are unconstitutional, aren't they doing their job?
Absolutely. And this goes back again to the very early 1800s when we had a Supreme Court justice who said it's decidedly our province. It's decidedly the province of the judiciary to tell you what the law is. That's Marbury versus Madison. Everybody knows that. I'm hoping that Senator Johnson remembers that. If not, maybe he's listening to this program and can go back and take a look at that once again. That has been the rule of law, once again, capital R, capital L, in our nation ever since then. And let's also remember, I know that right now they're not happy with these judges who are looking at the president saying you can't do these things. Remember as well that there have been other times when, a fellow like Joe Biden and a fellow named Barack Obama have also issued executive orders. Remember the executive order that Joe Biden issued during the course of COVID saying every single company that has more than 100 people needs to certify that you've got testing going on, all that sort of thing. What happened? The Supreme Court came back and said you can't do it. Unconstitutional, too big, too new, major questions doctrine is the law on this. It happens all the time. I was hoping that maybe Senator Johnson would hearken back to that and recognize.
Oh, I'm sure he was totally fine with
right?
the overstepping of the constitutional bounds. In that
By
case,
another president.
right. In that case, the court did the right thing,
right.
but not in this case. And this is what we see. Everything that goes against Trump is overstepping, and everything that is for Trump is it's totally right.
That's exactly
but this is how it is, and we know the difference. Come back with us, taking your calls and more. 855-752-4842. James Santelle, Just PS, on a beautiful Friday in the MKE. Welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. It's our break into spring text to win statewide contest here at Civic Media. Today's word is splash. Make it a splash. So download the Civic Media app, find your favorite radio station, use the text button at the bottom, and send the keyword splash for your chance to win today's contest. $100 cash. $100 cash. Cash is king. So
You don't even have to sign a petition for it.
Nice, but you do got to download the app.
That is true.
And send the keyword splash to get the cash. That's how we roll. James Santelle, former U.S. attorney, host of his own fine program, Amicus, a law review, broadcasting right here on the Civic Media Radio Network on Saturdays, 9 to 11 a.m., of course. Just PS on the board with us as well. Callers and texters, we do see you. We'll get to you momentarily. We want to throw a little bit more out there on this particular article. As mentioned, Ron Johnson saying today that the judiciary is overstepping its constitutional bounds by declaring Trump's actions unconstitutional. And again, declaring Trump's unconstitutional actions unconstitutional seems not to overstem their constitutional bounds. It seems to actually go along with what they're supposed to be doing, Mr. Santelle.
Absolutely. We take a look at things that the legislature has done, the executive branch has done, and we determine whether or not that is consistent with what, again, this is the other part of this. People who are so focused, as we can all be, on the founding fathers, right? What did our founding fathers anticipate? What did they expect? The focus of all of that is on the fundamental notions of government that were established by our founding fathers. If you believe in the tradition of America, you believe in courts, you believe that, and you know what you can do, and we've talked about this before, Dom, I can say, you know what? I think the judges come to the wrong conclusion about that. I apply the standards, I look at the facts, and I think, gee, maybe that injunction should not have been entered, or I think the judgment of the jury was wrong. We do that all the time. That's the First Amendment. That's protected, right? The difference and the line that's being crossed here by Ron Johnson and everybody else who takes these attacks is they're going to the basic authority of the judiciary to act in the first place, to show up for work in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And to say, you know what, I've got the authority to preside over this adversarial system we call justice. They're attacking the very capacity of judicial officers, men, women, across the board, district court judges, appellate court judges, arguably even the Supreme Court, to do what we command, we expect that they do by virtue of their oath of office. That's the problem. We can disagree with them, and that's fine.
Right. But
that notion that they do not have the authority, I think that maybe the things we're going to hear from Pam this afternoon are going to, that they don't have the power. No, Madam Attorney General, that is completely wrong. And again, you went to a place called Stetson, the Stetson Law School in Florida. I actually looked up the dean, and I'm thinking of sending him
you should absolutely do that.
A tersely worded letter saying, here are the things that your graduate has said. Is this what you're teaching at the Stetson Law School in Florida? And if so, we need to talk about the ABA accreditation of your law school.
I didn't know a hat manufacturer had a law school. 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. Ron Johnson continued on his tirade. They've got to discipline. They've got to put some guardrails around this. This is getting completely out of control. Yeah, your guy's getting completely out of control, and he's getting his unconstitutional executive orders tossed out. Not all of them. It's not across the board.
Absolutely. There's some judges out there, including Tanya Chutkan, who from time to time has said, no, I'm not going to do this. That's a bridge too far. But again, Senator Johnson, that's our system of government. And frankly, if you agree with the notion there are checks and balances, Senator, that this is one of this is how it works. And then, as the Chief Justice has said recently, you're unhappy with it. What do? You don't call for the impeachment of the judges. You don't call for them to stand down. You appeal their decisions. And at some point, then somebody says, and right now it's the Supreme Court that's probably going to give you an awful lot of what you want in the end. The Supreme Court, in the end, will be the final word on these things. That's our process. Stop it. Knock it off.
They cannot help themselves, Jim. In interviews on Thursday, Wisconsin top Republicans on Capitol Hill expressed support for limiting the power of district judges and left open the door for punishing judges they see as hindering Trump's agenda. Now, Johnson said in a brief interview that the issue is something the Supreme Court, Roberts, quote, ought to take care of. He said the U.S. Supreme Court needs to slap down these district judges and limit their powers to issue statewide stays. Now, Ron Johnson said that. Now, I'm thinking to myself, well, What other stays have judges
Yes.
put down that perhaps Republicans would support, Jim? Can you think of any?
We were just chatting over the break, you and I and Jess, about one that's, again, we talked about from this very place, right? We recall at a time, it still is a hot issue in America, it's abortion. And there's a drug called mifepristone. We all remember that one, right? It's one of the two principal drugs that are used in providing those reproductive services. Commonplace, we know the FDA, 25, almost 30 years of safety testing, we know it's been good. There was a judge, Northern District of Texas, named Kaczmarek, appointed by Donald Trump, who unilaterally found, again, based upon his review of some articles completely contrary to what the FDA
He did his
found,
own research.
Did his own research, found some articles. Footnote, the articles subsequently withdrawn, that no peer review of those and discredited. But what does he do? Putting aside the merits of what he did.
He
and
found
the basis,
it on the internet, Jim.
Right, he did, right? And what Judge Kaczmarek, Federal District Court Judge Kaczmarek did, he's got lifetime tenure, as do all of them, as he said, nationwide ban on mifepristone. And you recall the time, right? This was a time when an awful lot of people looked at this and said, for various reproductive reasons, other reasons, this is a drug that is safe. A federal district court judge entered an injunctive order preventing the FDA from going ahead with this. I don't know that my senior senator at that time, was animated about that particular action. And frankly, this is one of them we all remember.
Yeah.
We can, with a little bit, not much study, we can come up with 10, 15, 20 of these in Republican administrations, Democratic administrations, where, again, federal district court judges will do things. Frankly, at the same time, there was another judge, remember this, in Washington, went in the opposite direction. So we've got, and he applied his order to just those particular attorneys general who were appearing in front of him. We do this all the time. What is the remedy for that? We go to the appeals court, right? And Senator Johnson, what a great opportunity this would be to teach us all some civics and affirm what the Supreme Court Chief Justice has said. Go up to these should be appealed. I disagree with the opinion. Let's pursue this to the Fifth Circuit, to the D.C. Circuit. Let's do that. That's happening right now. Don't simply call, basically threatening these judges, which is a part of this style as well. That behavior is unconscionable.
Folks, you're listening to the Dom Salvia Show. That's James Santelle, former U.S. Attorney, joining us for the day. Jim, just on that basic premise, the thought that a federal district judge could put in an order and stop something nationwide, that certainly is a lot of power, right?
It is an awful lot of power.
Is there... What's the reason for that?
Sure.
I mean, should there be a limitation on that power? I mean, I'm just saying this objectively.
Yep.
Ron Johnson had no problem with the mifepristone one.
Right.
He's got a problem with this. I'm not looking at that from a political or situational. Right. I'm just saying, as a general rule, why should a federal district judge have that much power?
Right. And the answer is this once again. How often do we talk about reasonable people being able to disagree about reasonable things? This is one of those. You'll get some folks, frankly, on all sides of the political aisle, once again, who will say, they shouldn't. And if they do, if there is a judge who doesn't, plainly judges have jurisdiction over the parties in front of them. I just made mention of the Washington case. Well, he had in front of him, I forgot, maybe 15, 20 different states. And he said, okay, I have jurisdiction over you. My order is only going to extend to you. We've seen that in other circumstances recently. District court judges, even an appeals court, will say, we're articulating this view, but it only applies to those states within the 6th Circuit, the 11th Circuit, the 10th Circuit. And then I think we can get a little better our heads around that, right? There are an awful lot of people who say that shouldn't happen. The idea on the other side, of course, is if there's a judge who is confronted with something, again, in the nature of a true emergency, that there is something that's discovered, the plutonium has been exposed, right? That sort of thing. The ones that are all used in the bridge is burning, the flood is about to happen. Maybe not a national catastrophe, but something big. You've got to be able to vest in that one judge the authority to stop it and make it happen right away. If he or she is wrong, that's why you run then right away to the Court of Appeals and go to the Court of Appeals and say, you know what, overstepping. And that's where those arguments, they happen all the time. In the 7th Circuit, all the circuits, and the Supreme Court also wrestles with this routinely. What is the breadth of a district court judge's power? It all depends on the circumstances and also your sense, frankly, about what a federal district court judge should and should not do. What is an appeals court? What should they do, right? And then ultimately, we've got the Supreme Court. I think we all agree that the Supreme Court, they are the final voice on all of this. even though, again, we can disagree with them, but we're not calling for the dissolution of the Supreme Court.
Right. Well, not yet.
Right,
Wait
not
till
right,
they rule
right.
against Trump,
Yeah.
and then you'll see. You're like,
Right.
oh my God, who assigned all these hacks? Oh, that's right. It's like, I mean, come on. The guy renegotiated NAFTA, USMCA, and now he's complaining about the deal that he struck.
Right.
Well, yeah, the dingus who set it up really
I mean,
screwed us
that guy
over.
really screwed everybody over.
Mr. President, can I talk to you about something that happened about 5-6 years ago?
No, don't want to hear about it. We're moving Wisconsin forward. Rep. Derek Van Orden this month received the maximum $6,600 campaign donation from Elon Musk after calling for the impeachment of a New York judge. Oh, imagine that.
Right.
Nothing to do with each other whatsoever. You know, they had no idea. Nothing to do with it. Nothing to do. Let's get some of our callers. They've been patient. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Len from Madtown, you are up. Happy Friday, Len. Welcome. What do you got for us?
I hope you guys are doing well. Hey, obviously a lot in the news today about Elon Musk, but I think we need to be cautious when it comes to criticizing him. Everybody complains about money in elections, but in a way, it's disingenuous and it makes us look bad. I mean, Crawford has outraised and outspent Schimmel by at least double. And there was an article in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel today saying that out of the tens of millions of dollars coming into this election from out of state, 77% is going to Crawford. So we're fortunate that out-of-state interests are supporting Crawford and helping her outspend Schimmel. But with Wisconsin's demographics, Crawford and Schimmel are running neck and neck. If we keep focusing on Musk and complaining about quote-unquote fairness or a level playing field, and we get it, we might lose Wisconsin.
You know what? Here's listen, man. I hear what you're saying, but I think my position has been, a lot of folks that we talk to, is that we don't want it on any side, man. We don't want the left buying judges. We don't want the right buying judges. So I mean, and beyond that, there's nobody giving more as one singular person than Elon Musk. You know, if you look at J.B. Pritzker, or you look at George Soros, they're not giving, $20 million, man. They're not playing this game where they're giving folks $100 to sign this petition against activist judges, or actually going out there and saying they'll give you $1 million in appreciation for your vote. This is something beyond all of that. And all of that was already bad, Len. This is above and beyond. If he's 10 times as much as George Soros, man, I mean, isn't that something at least worth mentioning?
I think the reality is that Musk isn't even able to come close to closing the funding gap between them. And I think we should just keep it that way and win as much as we can without disturbing the rules that allow us to keep doing that.
Oh man, I hear what you're saying, and I'm thankful that at least at these last couple election cycles, the Dems have been raising pretty good money. Thank you, Ben Wickler and team. But this is, I think our buddy Tom said, they built the sandbox. We're just playing in it. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather not have the sandbox.
There's also an important note. I did look up that Journal Sentinel article, Len, and 77% of Crawford's donors are from out of state, not the funds raised.
The number of individual
donors. She has far more individual donors, whereas 15% of Schimmel's donors are out of state. However, Musk has contributed over a full quarter. 25% of all of the funding of this race is coming from one man.
That's something to talk about. And that is Len. And I know what you're saying, dude. I really do. And I appreciate you calling, appreciate you listening. We need to move beyond this. And to have 25% of $100 million, or 80 million, it'll be 100 million by the time Tuesday rolls around, coming from the richest man in the world who's trying to open up some dealerships. It's got to be talked about. And it got to be talked about in a couple of levels. Certainly the money in politics, the influence, the buying of a Wisconsin Supreme Court justice. Those are things to talk about. Speaking of justice, the Department of Justice, Pam Bondi, well, she's got some thoughts about our runaway judiciary as well.
She's your attorney general, by the way, just to let you know that.
Thank you. Come back with us. And welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show. Happy Friday to us all. Join us, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. It's the break into spring text to win statewide contest. Only go until 5 o'clock p.m. Central, folks. Today's super secret keyword is splash. Splash. Download the Civic Media app. Find your favorite radio station. Hit the text button at the bottom and send the keyword splash for your chance to win today's statewide contest, $100 in cash. So text over splash to get the cash. All right, that's enough. And we go till 5 o'clock p.m. Central. So good luck to you all. We appreciate you playing along with us. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. I'll get to the callers momentarily. We talked about Derek Van Orden getting the maximum payout. Now, he was the first member of the Republican conference to file an impeachment resolution against a district judge. Van Orden called for the impeachment of Judge Earl Engelmeyer, a district judge from New York, who attempted to limit the Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency's access to sensitive Treasury Department data. Musk later donated the maximum campaign donation for an individual to Van Orden, as well as several other Republicans who filed similar resolutions. So the word's out, right? If you file an impeachment resolution, boom, Musk is going to pay you.
This is the transactional part of this, right? I'm elected to Congress, and I know that my particular article of impeachment is not going anywhere. Unlikely, again, to his credit, Mike Johnson, which I don't often say, Speaker of the House of Representatives, has said, I'm not going down the impeachment road, but any member of the 435 of them, they can all file their article, right? And you get that out there and you issue a press release, right? You express outrage about what this particular federal judge has done, and you get the attention of someone who can then give you money for your campaign. That's the transactional part of it. You know, to Len's good point before as well, and I'm not going to say anything profound here, the fact that we're talking about $80 million, that is obscene. That is obscene, right? And we've got the Supreme Court to thank for that, right? We've got some Wisconsin statutes as well on this, but this is Citizens United, right? I know this is silly. I know people roll their eyes when I say this, but wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a 3-month campaign period, and every single week we would have the Crawfords and the Brad Schimmels into the studios around the state, and they'd show up at the women's clubs and the men's clubs or across the state, and they would debate consistently, and they could give them $1 million each for yard signs and some that sort of thing. And frankly, there are other countries, as you know well, who have limited this. It reduces the overall wear and tear on all of us, but more importantly, it gets the money out of this. And the things that Len and all of us are talking about, then we don't have to deal with that sort of inappropriate motive.
Jen has informed me Schimmel campaign raised $14 million in Wisconsin and around the country. Musk and his group have spent over $20 million as an outside force. Thank you for the clarity. And my understanding as well, 77% of the donors. No, I don't have the stat in front of me. We'll wait for Jess to come back with us. We'll get the callers in the meantime. 855-752-4842. Ollie from the Northwards, you are up. Welcome, Ollie. Happy Friday. What do you got for us?
Well, I have a question about the lawyers.
Yes.
For Mr. For Jim. And my question is, when those lawyers give Trump $40,000 or $1 million or whatever the total is in pro bono work, isn't that basically a payoff by them?
It certainly sounds that way, doesn't it, Ollie? And this is why, let's give them some names. This is Paul Weiss Rifkin. They're big law. They're in New York, but they're around the world. And these are the ones who were the first ones to capitulate a few days back. And they said, well, we'll give you $40 million. You tell us what, and pro bono legal services, Ollie, you've got it just right. You tell us what you'd like to work on, right? And so, and then we've got Skadden Arps, right? $100 million, presume the same deal. And if for that, and Ollie, to your point, this is the problem with it. It sure sounds like a payoff. It sure sounds like a deal, extortion. Call it what you will, depending upon your perspective on this. Who is making the deal? Who is zooming? Whom, so to speak? But the work of lawyers in America, I would say around the world, should not be purchased, right? And you shouldn't be able to number one, you shouldn't be able to threaten them as the President of the United States of America, keep them out of the courthouses. Think about that concept, right? He's telling GSA when the Skadden Arps, the Paul Weiss attorneys, frankly, the Perkins Coie attorneys, Wilmer Hale, Jenner and Block, when they show up at the front gate, keep them out. Keep them out. That's number one.
It's hard to do business when you defend your clients or advocate for your clients when you can't get in the room.
When you can't get in the room, and we're doing other things, prevent them from doing this. And the way to get around that, the chief executive officer of Wilmer Hale or Jenner and Block, pay me some money for the causes that I think are important, and I will lift that restriction.
Like the Donald Trump Defense Fund.
Right.
Right. Give to the fireman's ball.
Right.
855-752-4842. Let's squeeze one more in. Robert from Eau Claire, you'll have the last word this hour. Welcome, Robert. What do you got?
Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to thank you guys for doing the work that you do. The details are so important, and it's just such crazy times.
Yeah.
I don't know how half those freaking people sleep at night. But, really, how can they look themselves, he or she look herself in the mirror, with regards to some of the stuff that's going on right now. It's insane. It's all been done before. I saw a woman at Tufts University who was arrested, and all I could think of were the brown shirts.
Just terrible. Just terrible. Rob, we're going to get into that in the next hour as well. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for the very kind words. Folks, come back with us. James Santelle, former U.S. Attorney Just PS, is on the board. We're going to get into Attorney General Pam Bondi and her concerns about these judges. Come back with us.
Broadcasting across the state of Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and around the world on the Civic Media app. This is the Dom Salvia Show. And now, here's your host, Dom Salvia.
And welcome to the Dom Salvia Show. Happy Friday to us all. 855-752-4842. 855-75 Got Just PS working hard on the board. James Santelle, former U.S. Attorney, host of Amicus, a law review, broadcasting here on Saturdays. That's tomorrow from 9 to 11 a.m. Check out his fine program. Jim, thanks for coming around, man.
Good to be with you again to talk about. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm going to change the name of the show to It's a Lot. It's a lot. Because it is a lot. And we got a lot for you in this hour. Pam Bondi.
She's your attorney general, by the way.
She's your attorney general. She's not my attorney general.
Right.
She's your attorney general.
The United States Senate confirmed her for that position. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Just
Now,
so you know.
if you were still in your old job,
right.
she would have been your boss.
She would have been my boss, absolutely. And I will tell you, again, as an entree into this next segment here, I worked for, I believe it was 9 different attorneys general, most of them Republican. And the reality is that, again, you compare the things that those Republicans and the Democratic attorneys general said, there's nothing like what we're getting from her these days. Again, nothing even close. She is a political operative in the Department of Justice. And it is shocking. It is just shocking to see what she says.
Well,
to hear what she says.
You're going to love this, then, too. Just got the sound. Thank you so much for your hard work today for slicing and dicing up the Attorney General. Let's hear what she had to say about these district judges.
Many judges need to be removed, Judge Howell included, Judge Reyes, Judge Boasberg. These judges obviously cannot be impartial. They cannot be objective. They are district judges trying to control our entire country, and they're trying to obstruct Donald Trump's agenda.
Jim went for his notes.
I did. I was checking off the judges. So just by way of reference, I don't have all of them here, but Anna Reyes is the judge. Just to be clear, she was the one who said, no, you can't stop transgender people from serving in the military. That's what she said, right? James Boasberg obviously stopped the planes, and we're still working on that as well. Ellen Hollander, she's from Maryland. She was the one who said, yeah, I can't get access to the Social Security stuff. Theodore Chang said USAID can't shutter them, although basically the agency is done. So at least she's got her reference points correct, but there are an awful lot of them out there. All of these people, Attorney General Bondi, all of them have to be brought down, as that's what she's saying.
They need to be removed. Of course, Boasberg also landed the Signal case.
Yes, right.
From American Oversight,
right.
Their lawsuit, which of course is random, literally random, and they have a problem with that. So,
well, I mean, we saw just an hour ago that sometimes the random selection can land some pretty big coincidences.
Right.
With the case against Elon Musk getting randomly assigned
to Susan Crawford.
Susan Crawford.
There was a certain lawsuit brought by a guy named Jack Smith. It was a criminal case, and it happened to be randomly assigned to a federal district court judge in the Southern District of Florida. Her name, Eileen Cannon.
Yeah.
Right? We know how that
wasn't
played
that
out.
randomly positive for Donald Trump. And I don't remember Pam Bondi, much like when we talked about the last hour, complaining about that Texas judge who ruled that mifepristone could no longer be used before then. So literally, one guy. National rule, and that stood until the appeal, right?
Absolutely. And again, the Fifth Circuit did change that a bit. It went up to the Supreme Court ultimately, and I know your listeners all know this. Supreme Court basically said, we don't want to get involved in abortion right now, found that there was no standing in the first place, kind of suggested, Judge Kaczmarek, maybe you should have thought about whether or not the people who are coming forward really had some skin in this game, as they say. They did not, and so sent it all back down. And again...
Sounds like an activist judge.
Right? And those were the members of the Supreme Court, a majority of those members. And the good news, again, for your listeners, is that mifepristone to this day remains accessible to Americans.
It's also the major drug used to treat Cushing's disease. People, please. More from your Attorney General, Pam Bondi, and Laura Ingraham. I guess this is who's doing the interview over at Don't Call It Fox News. Cut number 2, please.
Sure. More on Judge Boasberg.
And Judge Boasberg is a busy judge. He was assigned to the Signal Gate, which is such a ridiculous name, but the Signal Chat case, which is a lawsuit filed by parties, which I'm not sure they have standing to file, But President Trump calls it disgraceful that this judge, again, who's ruled against you on the Tren de Aragua deportations, is now assigned to the Signal case.
Yes.
Your reaction tonight to that?
Laura, he has multiple cases. I guess it's a wild coincidence against Donald Trump and our administration. And now he has the Signal case. He shouldn't be on any of these cases. He cannot be objective. He's made that crystal clear. You know, these judges are taking personal attacks, too, at many of the cabinet secretaries and these judges across the country. And again, they think they have authority, but it's going to be short-lived.
I don't know how wise it is for an attorney general whose department's certainly going to be in front of these judges to talk like that. I mean, I remember there used to be a day, man, before I think Trump really started going after judges, but now apparently it's open season on the judges.
Exactly. And again, if you get in front of, let's list their names again, Ted Chiang and James Boasberg and Elaine Hollander and Anna Reyes and Tanya Chutkan as well, when you are the assistant U.S. attorney or you're there from the name the division inside a main justice, it's entirely appropriate for a federal district court judge to say, okay, we're going to talk about the substance of this. Let's talk about the merits of this request for a TRO. And I also noted on the front page of the New York Times that the Attorney General, your boss, Mr. Assistant United States Attorney, Madam United States Attorney, has called me, and then you fill in the blank, the name calling, and that too, right? And it has happened, right?
Yeah.
Right? And that kind of thing, it's fascinating. It's horrifying that the Attorney General says that they're doing the name calling. No, it's just the opposite. And Boasberg has been on the receiving end of more than virtually anything else. He's approaching the Tanya Chutkan levels, right?
Yeah.
And so again, and beyond that, this is a small point. She knows well that when it comes to the assignment of cases, she was the Attorney General in Florida. She was a practicing lawyer. These things are randomly done. Do you think for one moment in the United States of America, if somebody was saying, oh, get that case down to Judge Boasberg, that somebody would not find that out and get that into the media? Of course. This is randomly assigned. You've got civil servants in the clerk's office who are doing this, right? And so, again, don't mislead. How cynical to suggest that, again, the civil servants are somehow skewing the case assignments now. Is that what we're doing, Madam Attorney General?
They were just speculating. Just asking questions.
Right. It just sounds curious.
Observing the wild coincidence of it. And I got to be honest. I mean, who wants to pull Trump cases? You know what I mean? Like, oh, God, I got to deal with this again?
Right.
But, that's the job. And so I'm looking forward to hearing how Boasberg handles all these multiple Trump administration cases. One more, I believe, Laura Ingraham, Pam Bondi on no investigation needed for Signal, right? No.
Yeah.
Let's hear this one.
Let's listen to this.
This is not a concern of yours, Inspector General, idea of Inspector General investigation or congressional investigation down the road. You are completely confident that this was a mistake and nothing more than that.
We are. And all of our intelligence officials who were on it are confident of that as well.
Do you not know how many Democrats that I know over the years who have been on Signal? Of the highest level Democrats? And is that changing in the government now, though? Is Signal not going to be used, or is it going to be used going forward? Are you aware of it?
I think Signal's a very safe way to communicate. I don't think foreign adversaries are able to hack Signal, as far as I know.
And maybe people just have to keep an eye on their contact list a little bit more carefully going forward.
They learned their lesson. So much. I have such a problem with this. But basically, Jim, if government officials, Democrats or Republicans, are using Signal they can set to delete the messaging, then we don't have records of anything, what's happening in our country.
Absolutely. We don't have historical records. We don't have present records. When it comes to any of these lawsuits that may be out there, we cannot produce discovery about significant material communications where the policies are being discussed, all those kinds of things. If anything, you want to use all the mechanisms possible to record what you're doing. And there are all sorts of protections for that. There's a deliberative privilege, all kinds of things out there. And beyond that, just the notion that the Attorney General, who does have some oversight responsibilities with respect to the integrity of processes in America, this is going to sound very, very wonky, but when I was in Iraq, there are mechanisms inside government. It's called a SIPRNet account. Here's the acronym: the Secret Internet Protocol Router Network. There was one sitting in front of me for 2 years at the embassy. There's another thing, of course, SCIFs. We've got SCIFs all over the place. Why don't you go in there? Why are we talking about Signal at all anymore? Why don't we just reaffirm that, again, when it comes to war engagement, bombing Houthis, bombing other people, engaging in other things where our armed services are put in jeopardy, and we're attempting to do something that is violent and maybe very necessary, that's a policy decision that's made, we should be communicating that in the most secure mechanism possible. How wonderful it would be if my Attorney General, and she's yours as well, if she had come forward and said, instead of attacking this and suggesting we're not going to have an investigation at all, she had said, you know what? I have written a letter to the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, and I have reaffirmed the notion that when it comes to these fundamental kinds of things, my National Security Division has confirmed for me we should be using SCIFs. We should be using something called JWICS. It's the Joint Worldwide Intelligence Communication System. Get on your SIPRNet account, do that, and we can ensure. And then we can also tell Congress, by the way, that from going forward here, we're never going to do this again. Boom, you're done.
Yeah, but do all those super fancy secret networks have emojis?
That's the problem.
You know what I mean?
That's the problem.
I want an emoji, yo.
Right.
And of course, very problematic. And they use these things because they don't want you to find out.
Right.
And it harkens back to the Mueller investigation. And I just pulled this up from CNN back in 2019. Despite the report's comprehensive pages, it could have been longer if Mueller's team had access to more communications. A quote from the Mueller report. Some of the individuals we interviewed or whose conduct we investigated, including some associated with the Trump campaign, deleted relevant communications or communicated during the relevant period using applications that feature encryption or that do not provide for long-term retention of data or communications records. In such cases, the office was not able to corroborate witness statements through comparison to contemporaneous communications or fully question witnesses about statements that appeared inconsistent with other known facts. They've been doing this the whole time. They continue to do it. They got away with it with the Mueller report. They're getting away with it now. The judge has ordered the relevant parties here to hold this data if it's still there, but he did not expand that order to all other potential signal communications within the government. So, like I said yesterday, if the lights are dimming, that's the energy being used while the entire government, Trump administration, deletes all their signal apps or messages. Come back with us, 855-752-4842. back to This Is a Lot with Dom Salvia, Jess P.S., and James Santelle. It is a lot. We're going to get to your calls and your texts as well. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Talking about Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and downplaying any sort of investigation. Perhaps we can play that clip one more time, if you would, specifically about the no investigation needed, according to Don't Call It Foxy News, Laura Ingraham, and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General.
This is not a concern of yours, Inspector General, idea of Inspector General investigation or congressional investigation down the road. You are completely confident that this was a mistake and nothing more than that.
We are, and all of our intelligence officials.
We are. I mean, if it's a mistake, Jim, does that make it any less illegal?
It does not. And again, in fairness, which I'm trying to find some basis upon which to be fair to my Attorney General, it is good that we identify all the people who should be looking at this, right? There should be the Inspector General, the Department of Defense, maybe the Department of State as well. They are supposed to be, until we know, as Jess has reaffirmed for us today, until they get fired by the President of the United States, they're supposed to be somewhat independent inside. They should be conducting an inquiry. They're not. They don't indict anybody. They've got no charging power. They simply make findings about what happened. What a great office that would be to answer what the American people want to know. And then at the other end of the mall, you've got the thing called the United States Congress. It would be appropriate, again, I recognize under the present composition of the Senate and the House, it's not going to happen, for there to be an oversight committee review of this, right? And call witnesses in and ask them what happened here. And yes, indeed, here's the point. Any attorney general under any administration, regardless of who appoints them, should, at a minimum, open a file. What she should have said today to Fox News was, we don't know where this is going. We have a responsibility under the oath that I took, the Department of Justice. We need to investigate this to determine whether a crime was committed here. We don't know. We don't know any of this. She comes to that summary without any examination at all. We have simply opened a file. I am not confirming for you anything about whether there will be civil pursuit of this, criminal. That's what you say. And I've assigned good people to investigate this, come back to me, and I may come back to you at some point and say, you know what, we've examined this all. There is nothing to charge here. But at least pursue the effort while the inspectors general are looking at this, while the Congress is looking at this, probably coming all to the same result if they had integrity. The Attorney General should be at the forefront of that, saying, yes, we've opened an investigation. We will tell you when we're done with it. That's what a good Attorney General does, not a summary conclusion. Yeah. We're all concluded on
we're
this.
confident. It was a mistake. What's the mistake? That it got out, that we found out about it? Or was it a mistake that they added Jeffrey Goldberg to it?
Right.
Was it a mistake that they were like so cavalierly talking about, trying to shake down Egypt and Europe for the cost of this operation that presumably Europe wasn't even talked to about it up front? I mean, what part of this is the mistake? The mistake that the dude actually was, Hegseth was kind of bragging. He didn't need to put all the information, the timestamp dates of when the bombs are actually going to stop dropping. I mean, we did the whole agenda for the day, man.
Right.
That was a mistake. There are all sorts of things that were a mistake, Jim.
Right.
But she's no problem here, nothing there. What about the fact that this is, according to the American Oversight Lawsuit, an unlawful destruction of federal records and to compel recovery of records created through the unauthorized use of Signal? If it's unlawful to destroy these records as these things were set to delete, and we know just based on life experience, this is not the first time that Signal or messaging and encrypted apps have been used by this administration. Right. Guaranteed, man. So if that's the case, isn't that unlawful?
And this is one of those situations where the cover-up can be worse than the underlying event, right? We talk about that a lot in American history. You have an obligation, an oath of office, once again, to be transparent. Let me hasten to add that, yes, indeed, I mentioned it just in passing before, there's a thing called the deliberative privilege, and that's right. You want to have policy created at the presidential level, at the cabinet level, all across the board, U.S. attorneys' offices. You want to be able to sit down with your staff and say, listen, let's talk through this.
Be candid.
And be candid.
Yeah,
and Dom, you've got a different view than I do. Let's chew over that, right?
Yeah.
Let's figure out, let's talk to the FBI, let's talk to the local sheriff, figure out what's going on. You don't want all of that in the news the following day, right?
Right.
You do need to keep records of all that because you want want to establish down the road, if there's a request for discovery, if there's an allegation, which is what is permeating all this, that there was some inappropriate motive, if somebody somehow did intend to throw this out there and there was an intent to disclose this in some way, you want to have records of all of that. And to your first point, if you are destroying the very records upon which that inquiry can be made, that in and of itself can be a crime. And that's the other reason why Pam Bondi, at a minimum, if she finds that, yes, it was a mistake, and then afterwards there were all these attempts to try to suppress the information, that, again, the cover-up, worse than the crime, is classic Watergate stuff, right?
855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
It rhymes, exactly.
Mark from the
exactly.
SAC, you are up. Welcome, Mark. What do you got for us today?
Yeah, to pull a little Archimedes in here, that there's not a lever long enough to pull Ron Johnson's head out of his butt with his latest thing. I mean, it is just beyond me. And for all this other stuff, I mean, these people didn't use a skiff. I looked up what a skiff actually is. I mean, you're not going to. That's where this should have been discussed. They wanted to do this so you have a happy joy of people dying.
Sorry to cut you short, man, but we're going to come into a hard... Did you just pull a happy joy Ren and Stimpy on me, man? Wow, I used to love Ren and Stimpy. Happy joy. Yes, you're absolutely right. This should have been taken seriously, and it wasn't. And because the reason it wasn't, because these are not serious people. They're not. And we heard about the concern that so many people had with Hegseth. And the dude didn't get 61 days in, man. It was the 24th that he got confirmed, and it was the 24th of March when this all blew up.
And keep in mind, February was a short month.
That's what I'm saying, man. 2 months, man, and the thing blew up, and we still got to deal with this. Folks, come back with us, 855-752-4842. How does this impact Freedom of Information Acts? And we want to get into some of these attorneys, some law firms targeted by Trump. Some are rolling over, some are fighting back. Come back with us. Oh, and don't forget, end of the show, tell us something good. 855-752-4842. back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842. This long-distance dedication going out to Casper. Love you, buddy. Hope to see you soon. Join us on the lines. James Santelle joining us on the desk. You can join us as well, 855-75-CIVIC-SPS, working hard on the board. We've heard from Wisconsin Republicans, elected Republicans, Ron Johnson, Tom Tiffany, Drunky Van Orden, and then we also heard from Attorney General Pam Bondi. Everybody's attacking these judges.
Yes.
Oh, these judges are unconstitutional. They're throwing out not all, but lots of Trump's executive orders and going against his agenda. I'm like, well, yeah, maybe he's being unconstitutional. They're doing their job.
We can't have a rule of law in America, at least in the state of Wisconsin.
The rule of Trump is what they want. And what's the rule of Trump? Well, whatever it is, the day he says it, which is why we have the rule of law. We don't want an absolute monarchy, Jim. And I find it so super offensive. The guy puts a crown on his head and acts like this is a joke. I mean, with that kind of attitude, you can come and pluck people off the street and ship them off to be renditioned at another. Oh, wait, what's happening?
Yep. Right? Exactly.
Wow. A little too close to home, Jim.
Right.
What do you think?
And this is Sonia Sotomayor, right? We go back to July 1 of 2024. And Sonia and Ketanji Brown Jackson, plainly Elena Kagan, all writing these excoriating dissents with respect to that immunities case. We forget that the first portion of that, written by John Roberts, gives the President of the United States of America this incredible amount of power, right? Talks about the need for a president to be active, to be vigorous, decisive, energetic, speedy. If you can't be feeble, because a feeble executive implies a feeble execution of government. That's what that's the law of the land as articulated by the Chief Justice. And our president gets that. And frankly, he's doing that, right? I put a lot of responsibility at John Roberts' feet. And yes, indeed, this very nice statement that he made early on about, we shouldn't be talking about impeachment. We should be appealing. Not nearly enough, John. Not nearly enough. We need to be out there with a full-throated condemnation of this, put it all to an end. He's done some of that in the past. I suspect, once again, he's intimidated by this fellow who's living in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It is time for the Chief Justice to be very clear that that this is the rule of law. He is the head of the federal judiciary, and all the people under him are being attacked. It is time to come forward, John, and defend your people. And it's not his people specifically, but it is the federal judiciary for which he's responsible.
Yeah. I guess just a quick thought on that. Given that, Trump was elected and whether or not they ruled the way they did on that, and I agree with you, this was an overreach by Roberts and I agree with the dissent on there. But Donald Trump was elected, and whether or not they ruled that way, he still would have been elected. He still would have dismissed all these cases, and I believe Donald Trump still would have gone through with haste, with alacrity and speed and all those things as he's doing right now. So I don't think that necessarily the actions of this administration have changed any because of that particular ruling, at least not yet.
Right.
He's throwing everything at the wall. Now he'd have done that regardless, in my opinion. Right. Now the question is, of course, the actions that this administration is doing, they're blatantly unconstitutional in many, many regards. And specifically, some of these deportation things, man. I mean, oh my God. I mean, if you don't have the right to say, no, I'm not a Venezuelan gang member, you know what I mean? Then they can rendition anybody.
Right. And in fact, the tattoo, based upon which you've decided that I am a member of this gang affiliation here, that's because I like soccer, and it's right. And the point of that, we don't know that for certain, is due process, right? And that's why these people are saying, no, these judges cannot do it. The judges are not. They're not finding as a matter of fact that the 200 people are right now sitting in this high-security prison in El Salvador, that every single one of them is or is not a gang member. We haven't gotten to that point.
Yeah.
If you are attacking Judge Boasberg for what he is doing, you're attacking the fundamental notion of due process. Boasberg, I suspect it may not happen, but Boasberg and the appeals court may well one day say, you know what? And maybe the Supreme Court, which apparently is going to get this very soon, may well say, you know what? He can use this Alien Enemies Act. He can do this. We're not even there yet because cause. And here it is. This is what Patricia Millett said 48 hours ago. 2-1 panel saying, no, Judge Boasberg is just fine. We're supporting what he is doing in this case. She said the government's removal scheme denies plaintiffs, and that plaintiffs are the frankly, maybe not all the 200, but basically it is that. And I love this phrase, even a gossamer thread. When's the last time you used the expression gossamer thread, Dom?
I don't know what that means. What's a gossamer thread?
A gossamer thread is basically a light and kind of flighty. You think about it in meadow, just airy kind of a thing. Very, very non-specific.
Insubstantial.
Gotcha.
Insubstantial.
Gotcha.
Not even a gossamer thread of due process. And then she goes on to confirm this as a part of the presentation of the Court of Appeals, D.C. Even though the government, that's Pam Bondi, that's the attorneys I was talking about before we're presenting this case, even though the government acknowledges their right to judicial review of their removability, we're all in agreement that they should have gotten that. But they're sitting right now in a prison in El Salvador, and maybe they should be there. We don't know that. Maybe they are a threat to our nation. We haven't decided that because we didn't afford them something that every single, and you don't have to be a citizen. If you are here, you are afforded the protections of the Constitution. And if you don't think that we are, it's only for citizens, you are wrong. Go back and revisit what it is our country is based upon. You've got another judge, same panel. Her name is Karen Henderson. She says sensitive subject matter alone. This goes to the power issue that Pam Bondi is talking about. And again, Henderson, for what it's worth, she's an appointee of George H.W. Bush, been there a long time. She says sensitive subject matter alone does not shroud a law from the judicial eye. Just because this is sensitive doesn't mean we can't look at it. She says, we have previously considered the precise sort of question the government contends we cannot. That's telling Pam Bondi, wrong, wrong, wrong. And we've got a panel basically saying that, yes, indeed, we have a constitutional violation here. And meanwhile, you still have Judge Boasberg saying, aside from that, again, more proceedings in front of him, you still haven't told me. Were you in violation of my order when on the 15th you sent those planes in the air? And again, this is the thing that's so stunning to me. Somebody knows when those planes were wheels up, right?
Yeah.
There's a document out there that says, here's the order that's been given. Here's the manifest. It's when they left. Here's when they were in the air. This information is known. The judge wants it. And it's not coming forward. Why? Because the presumption is because it probably shows that sometime maybe after Judge Boasberg said, no, you keep those planes on the ground. Somebody said, we don't care about judges. They don't have any power. Send the planes on. And that's when the Republic, that's quite literally, it's not hyperbole. That's when the Republic begins to disintegrate because you're not following the rule of law. You've got a judges, plural, saying, don't do this. Do not send the student from Tufts University overseas. Do not, and even that, sending her to Louisiana. Keep her local here. We don't know the timing of that. If you are doing things purposely to undermine what the judges are telling you to do, you are not only in contempt, you're basically ripping up the Constitution and the due process that every single person in this country, all your listeners, regardless of where they are in the political arena, every single one of them embraces and would expect if they were on the receiving end of anything from the government.
Well, Jim, they're not in contempt yet because they haven't provided the information yet. And they're hiding behind, what, national security or something? Come on, really, what?
Right.
So where does that stand? The administration hiding behind the national security on this contempt issue, whether or not the planes were in the air, wheels up at the time he gave his verbals versus written order, all those kinds of things. Where does that stand as far as the legal process is concerned? And number two, let's assume they are in contempt. What's the remedy?
Right? So plainly, Judge Boasberg is not satisfied and continues to yell. He continues to set all these deadlines. And at some point, I think he will make a finding of contempt. The question then is, as we've talked before, what do you do with that, right? Again, as Andrew Jackson said to the Supreme Court many, many years ago, go ahead and enforce your order, right? Well, Judge Boasberg has some capacity here. Doesn't have an army, he has the U.S. Marshals. Ooh, but they're inside the Department of Justice, right? That's another bit of a challenge here. He does have the capacity, depending upon the kind of contempt, to jail someone. And if somebody at some mid or high level purposely made the decision on the 15th of March to send those planes in the air knowing that there was an order prohibiting that, that person is in contempt. And he can find that indeed you need to spend some time behind bars because of the violation of the court directive, not because of a violation of the criminal law. And beyond that, what's next? Again, you've got the Court of Appeals affirming what Judge Boasberg is doing. I am hearing just this afternoon, not surprisingly, that again, my Solicitor General is now asking the United States Supreme Court to review all of this. And again, we've seen this in a couple of cases before. Now the Supreme Court presumably would get involved to try to figure out who is right, who is wrong. John Roberts has another chance, John, to redeem yourself. Do the right thing here.
And if we do have charges of contempt, if those then come with a sentencing, would those be federal or state? Meaning, could Trump then just turn around and use his pardon abilities?
Right. These are all federal judges. You're absolutely right. And the question is, again, you're absolutely right. He enters a judgment of contempt. He orders someone jailed for some period of time. The pardon power is pretty extreme, right? We know that. It doesn't apply to cases of impeachment, but beyond that, it's fairly broad. Even so, at some point, as we've talked before, and I know this sounds, again, hyperbolic and perhaps over the top, U.S. Marshal, take Mr. Johnson, take Ms. Phillips into custody and keep them in custody. And then again, maybe the president is going to release that person promptly. But for a moment, that would be the appropriate thing to do because you violated a basic tenet of our republic. We follow the rule of law. We do.
Can you send the bailiff after him? I mean, come on. Right.
Well,
all right. Okay, let's go one step further. This goes to the Supreme Court, right?
Yes.
This is as it stands right now, and this specific case. So,
it's an emergency petition. It's once again the so-called, the shadow docket. They're taking up very quickly. They got 64 cases. They're going to somehow insert this one in, presumably if they decide to review it. They don't have to.
Right.
They could keep things in place as they are, but if they do decide to review it, then they're going to do presumably some expedited briefing, oral argument.
And is this on the case whether or not that this action by this administration, I guess under the Alien Enemies Act, is appropriate in this situation? Is that what we're reviewing in the Supreme Court?
That's the core issue, right?
Yeah.
Does the president have the right to use that again 19th century law of finding again that we are at war, and that these are aliens who are again compromising our national security? That's the core issue, and that's what the judges are again very strongly indicating. Again, this 2-to-1 panel saying that the Venezuelan migrants likely to succeed in their claims. The government cannot use that wartime law. That's what they already found. So that's going to be the core of this. Depending upon what Judge Boasberg does, it could be wrapped up also in a contempt citation too. All this could, depending upon how they define what they're reviewing, they could take all of this or very little of it, carve it out, figure out what they want to decide. But that issue about whether or not the underlying invocation of the law by this president is legal, that should be before them. And have John Roberts tell us that we are at war with Venezuelan gang members right now.
That's
right, because it's not even Venezuela.
Right.
I mean, also some additional news on this topic, and we'll get to your callers. Your calls, folks. Be patient in the next segment. Tell us something good, then we'll talk more about these topics. New York Times is reporting that Trump's efforts to deport migrants to places other than their country of origin hit a new roadblock today when a federal judge issued a temporary order requiring the administration to give migrants an opportunity to contest their removal on the grounds that they might be at risk of persecution or
due
torture.
Process. That's
US
what we call
District
due process.
Court Judge Brian Murphy, who sits in Boston, ordered the government to give migrants a chance to contest their removal to a so-called third country under a federal law that limits deportations to places where the deportees' quote life or freedom would be threatened. He also cited a United Nations treaty against torture. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Who do we see? Who was taking the pictures, the DH in front of the prisoners? What's her name? I'm going to get back to it. She was down there. She cosplays her role. Homeland Security, maybe? No, there we go. Yeah, nice look. 855-75-CIVIC. Come back with us. right, welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, want to hit us up, tell us something good. That's how we end the day, the week. It's been a week.
It's been a week.
It's kind of a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Let's get to the callers. You're lining up. We do appreciate you playing along. Kurt from Madison, you are up. Welcome, Kurt. What do you got for us?
Oh, this question is for Jim, and I'm curious. Given the debate between BS and Crawford, that they're both judges, wouldn't it be kind of fun to have them both swear on the Bible that everything they see is the truth and the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
It certainly is what we do in court, right? Because we presume that if you do that, you will in fact tell the truth. That's always the concern, right? But again, anything that can get more honesty in our process, let's give it a shot. I agree, Kurt. Yep.
And Kurt, do you have something good for us?
Yeah, thanks to this 70-degree day, my backyard
Very good.
was destroyed due to landscaping last year. I was able to get the whole thing raked and seeded, and now I'm drinking my Bloody Mary with my beer chaser.
Excellent.
Well
There
done,
we
Kurt.
go.
Appreciate it, man.
And your Bible is there too, right, Kurt? It is swearing on it.
Have a great weekend. The testimony in front of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Some folks think those cats were not being entirely truthful.
Right, and they are under oath to tell the truth, and you can be prosecuted for that's just to be in court. When you take the oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and you do not do that on something that's material and provably wrong, you are committing perjury. It's a tough thing to prove. But nonetheless, if it is that clear, black and white, and you knew at the time that what you were saying under oath is wrong, you've got the intent to commit the crime.
I'm an old man. I'm confused.
So, for example, someone saying that nothing in the signal chat was classified information. If we then find out, oh, yeah, the document that Pete Hegseth was copying and pasting the exact plans from was a top secret classified document.
And you knew that at the time that you made that statement, you are in big trouble. Absolutely, Jess. Yeah.
855-752-4842. Margaret from Cottage Grove, welcome to the show. Tell us something good.
Well, I wanted to say that regarding the earthquake in Myanmar.
Oh, man, terrible.
My brother, it was horrible. My brother lives in Thailand and not too far from where it happened.
Wow.
He had 7.7.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
Earthquake. Yeah. But he's okay.
I'm glad to hear that.
He was complaining because he's such a smart ass. He was complaining that he couldn't get his nap.
May that be his biggest concern.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Margaret. Yeah, terrible earthquake in Myanmar. Lots of people dead, buildings down. It's not a great scene. So I'm glad your family is okay, Margaret. Thinking of all those folks. Enjoy the days. You never know when yours is coming. 855-752-4842.
You know, it is tragic. Another important point. When we are overseas with an entity called the United States Agency for International Development, that's the kind of thing that we do. We support people who have absolute meltdown crises and people die. The agency all but shuttered today. It's over. There are 900 people left. They're inside the Department of State. And we do not have that capacity now to assist. I'm not saying in Myanmar we'd be there right away, but that's the kind of thing that our nation has always done. And we're not doing that anymore. That's tragic.
The staff of USAID will be reduced to some 15 legally required positions. The agency employed about 10,000 people before Trump entered office. It's all over.
It's done.
According to the New York Times. Claire, you are up, the OC. Welcome, Claire. What do you got for us? Tell us something good.
Hi, Dom. I've got a joke to hopefully cheer everybody up for Friday night.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Who?
Who?
What are you, an owl?
Thank you, Claire. Appreciate it as always. Cam from Appleton, you are next. Welcome. Tell us something good, Cam.
Well, the something good I got is that my union contacted me today and said, we will do our hardest job to make sure that you are not let go.
Hey.
That's why I
You're
got.
here.
All right.
Excellent, man. Great news. Appreciate it, man. Anything else for us today? All right, we'll take it. Thank you, Cam. Take care up in Appleton, my old stomping grounds. One of them. LA Tom, you are next. Tell us something good, buddy.
Absolutely. First, something good is that Civic Media. If we didn't have Civic Media in the state of Wisconsin and actually around the country through the app, we'd have one less outlet of media that's not just corporatized but actually gives facts. So I think the fact of having Civic Media is a very, very positive thing, and everyone needs to realize what it would be like without Civic Media.
Right on, man. Appreciate it, Tom. Have a wonderful weekend out in L.A. Hell, it's almost L.A. weather here, dude. It's like 78 when I was driving in. James Santelle, you got anything you want to throw out there last 30 seconds?
I do, yes. And this is the University of Maryland having its commencement exercises on May 21st. The president of the university announcing to graduates and families their speaker at the time is going to be the world's most famous amphibian, Kermit the Frog.
Love it. Kermit. Folks, have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, James Santelle. Listen to his show tomorrow, Saturdays, 9 to 11 a.m. Amicus, a law review. Thank you, Just PS. Folks, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on the radio on Monday.